Martial arts is much bigger than kicks and punches. It gave me the strength, the resilience, the discipline, and the wherewithal to fight this thing head on. Obviously, God's my source, right? And through Him. But I started fighting because I'm a fighter, right? I did 18 months of all the traditional stuff. Nothing worked. I got down to 119 pounds. I was throwing up blood every day. So I did the camp. Mr. Wallace, Terry, they saw me. Like, we kind of said our goodbyes.
Let's talk about what this is going to be, and
Yeah,
then
sure.
we'll roll into it, and we'll go from there.
You're great, man. I knew.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you're easy to talk to, so we'll just have fun. I
Good.
can't wait.
And that's it, and that's all it is. And I try to remind the guests, the best stuff is just it's. I'll say it a different way. The whole point of the show, the whole show concept was, I would go to these camps when I was a kid, and I was just in awe listening to these martial artists tell these stories with each other, just shooting just talking with each other, just, hey, this, oh, I did that 20 with, oh, you know them? Just that. I wanted that. And so if we forget that people watch or listen later, if it's just you and I talking, the difference being you're going to do most of the talking, then it comes out pretty good. My job in a real conversation, right? Like if you talk to somebody, if you were to sit down, if you were to talk to Bill or Joe or any of these amazing guys that we know, they're going to do most of the talking. And you're like,
We want to listen, right? That's
exactly. So
when
that's the
Master
dynamic.
Wallace does story time, I stand there, right, and it's epic. The stories are insane, right? It's gold.
And sometimes you chime in, you're like, wait, but what about, right? You keep him going. And so that's
Yes,
my job, is just to keep you going. I might do, if I'm talking a lot, it's 20%.
right. That's
So
easy, man. Good for you.
good.
Congrats on the success of the
Thanks.
show. I
Thanks.
mean, 1,000+ episodes is a milestone, right? That's
Well,
like, how
it
long
is.
has the show been on now? How many years?
We are in our 11th year.
That's amazing, brother. Dude,
Thank
deep
you.
bow,
Thanks,
right?
man. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, it's like
Us.
anything else. You just keep showing up, and eventually you suck at it less.
I'm stealing that quote. That is the quote of the show right there.
But it's
It's like
true.
anything else. You just
It's
keep showing up and you suck less. I think
but
that sums up my martial arts career. We're done. Just
it's
show's over.
all of ours. This
That's it.
and that's the thing
That's it.
that I tell people is it's like if you when you start doing a thing, whether it's martial arts or anything else, you have this image in your head of what it is, and it's always wrong. But you keep showing up, and eventually some of the things were really hard are now just kind of hard. And eventually some of those things become okay. But in that process, you learn other things that that you're terrible at, right? Like martial arts is a continued journey of always being terrible at something if you're doing it right.
My coach,
Is-
says fail forward fast. That
Yeah.
sums up. I think our group, it sums it up, right? Because we're literally training with the world's greatest martial artist of all time, Bill Superfoot Wallace, right? Hall of Fame, middleweight champ, former middleweight champ of the world, and his best friend was Grandmaster Joe Lewis, and the two of them collaborated. So when you think about, like, I tell my sons jokingly, I've forgot more martial arts than you'll ever learn, son. Like, that's the reality,
Yeah.
right? And I consider myself as like the baby of the group. Like, I'm the least talented. Like, all you guys are like way better than me. So I'm just excited to hang. Like, that was always
I will
my
fight you for that title at the bottom.
right. We'll high five each other, but
And
that matters, man.
it does.
Who's in the training room really matters.
It does. It does. And you know, I'm sure you've heard it. And by the way, we're just going to keep rolling here because
I
this
figured.
is too good.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Um,
Perfect.
if you're the best person in the room, get a better room,
Correct.
right? Like
Correct.
you don't get better as well as you could. And that's not to say that you can't get better when you're when you're the best in the room, because you can, because I know plenty of instructors who get better with their students, right? Like, but if you're the worst in the room, the only place you have to go is up, assuming you're with people that recognize where you are. But when you made a point about Bill Wallace that I think we can also apply to Joe Louis that I think is very interesting and I think is very different from a lot of their contemporaries in that they spent a huge amount of time thinking about their training
Talking.
and not and talking and testing and not simply saying, well, this is how I was taught. This is how it was done. They were
Right.
willing to take the thing and look at it in every possible angle. And if it didn't serve them, put it over there. Maybe
That's
not to throw
exactly
it
right.
away, right? And most of us don't grow up like that in our training.
No.
Most of us are taught this is the way, this is the thing, if this, then that. And I think we can say now, maybe over the last 10 or 20 years, we're starting to have the conversations that they were already ahead of. They had already had the conversation and come to the conclusion in the 60s.
Right. You know what's crazy is the torch is now to us. That's the scary part. Like, think of that for a minute, right? Like Joe said, I'm the student first, yet I have the privilege to teach, right? And I think you just talked about the evolution of we now have an obligation hanging out with these world champions, the greatest martial artists of all time. No one can argue that, right? Bill and Joe and Chuck and Bruce and
Intelligently,
Jeff
anyway.
Smith,
People
like
do, but they're
that.
wrong.
Yeah, like come on, like that was the mecca, and you sparked the memory of a story, and I
Mm.
remember Bill telling this, and if I get it wrong, sorry, Mr. Wallace, but he talked about when Joe called him to fight the first kickboxing full contact, right? And Joe was like, "You're gonna be my middleweight," and Master Wallace goes, no, I'm not." Like, I just want to believe I could have killed him if I kicked him in the head, right? Because back then it was all a point, and they destroyed the circuit. Nobody could beat these guys. So then they go fight that first kickboxing, and they are the true pioneers, man. They really found out, like, does this stuff really work in a continuous round? Like, and I think that is what will get us the next evolution for martial arts. We need to do this to our kids now. We have to put them through that and forge them in fire, right? Not in YouTube. And I think that's the biggest gap. And I'll get on a soapbox, but like I think we have to learn from what they did. They told us, they showed us how to do it. The recipe's there. Let's not mess this up. Like they passed us the torch. Now we have to, I believe I have an obligation to my coach, to Professor Schneider, and to Joe and to Bill, you know what I mean? The guys that poured their knowledge into me, I need to give it back the same way it was given, with the evolution of it's 2025, right? How do we keep the doors open, the lights on, and still not sacrifice the training? And I think that's where, as a whole, martial arts, I believe, that's where it's at in 2025. There's such a gap. Like it's such a 31 flavors. Oh, it's ice cream, but there's a lot of flavors out there now.
Yeah, and if you put them all in the same bowl and you mash them up, it's one thing if they're distinct scoops, but when you start mashing them all up, it doesn't taste good. You
So
you might
Rogan's
detect
quote,
sweet. Yeah.
yeah, Rogan's quote is, "You have to be a martial artist before you can be a mixed martial artist." So the right, and
I
I
haven't
think
heard that, but that's so eloquent. You can't modify a thing until you're the thing, until you have the
right,
thing.
black belt's the master of the basics, right? Your principle foundation, right? So, but now my kids have grown up in a world where mixed martial arts is normal. It's on ESPN.
Yeah.
So what I did with my sons is I put them and we started Kyokushinkai, right? And we did that first as a kid. It was straight karate, in the gi, old school, like I came up with
Is that your
Bill and
background?
Bill and
Yeah.
Joe's little flair. I
Yeah.
added.
My is one of
Now,
mine too.
right, as he's a
Yeah.
17-year-old that wants to turn pro, now we're doing this. Now we're in the Superfoot systems, right? He's 2-0 this year using that system in amateur kickboxing.
That's
So
great.
I'm so blessed. My oldest is really starting to.
How old is he?
He's 17.
Okay. Good on him.
I know, isn't that great?
Good on him,
So
man.
I think that's where the conversation is going to go, is how can we take the principle of what they taught us, but have it translate to today's martial artists, whatever their goals are. Whether they just want to be a boxer, a kickboxer, a karateka, right? Brazilian jiu-jitsu is now becoming
Right.
mainstream. So there's so many options. And I think that I want to make sure we keep Master Wallace's legacy and the Superfoot systems alive, because it has such a foundation for any instructor. They can follow this curriculum and teach great classes for kids and adults. It really is that brick foundation. Then you add whatever other flavor, right? The sprinkles, but your core, ice cream is in that Superfoot systems. That's the brick foundation when I build my house of martial arts.
That makes sense. Absolutely. I've often talked about it that the first style you learn of any substance, right? Not 3 weeks here, but if you spend some time, even if that's not to black belt, that it's your language. It's your martial arts language. And I started thinking about this because I was a karate guy who ended up in a taekwondo school. And fortunately, my taekwondo instructor had originally been a karate guy. So
Right.
he had some patience with me, but my taekwondo forms looked like a karate guy doing taekwondo forms. And then I saw other people that came in with other things, and I started as whistlekick started to grow, and I'm traveling around and I'm meeting people, and I'm seeing that it's this language, it's this movement language that we have. And how do you speak without knowing a language? Nobody's out there, or at least hopefully they're not out there going, I can't talk. I guess if they can't talk, they're not doing research. But if they can't talk, they're not out there saying, I really like this line in this poem, and I'm going to combine it with this paragraph from my favorite story and the chorus from this song, and mash that together and expect to have something relevant. It's a
That's it.
mishmash.
Mm-hmm.
But if you learn the language, then you can sing the song, read the poem, read the story, read the story out loud, right? Like you have options. And even if I go learn Spanish after that, I'm I learned English and now I'm learning Spanish. It gives me a leg up learning this other language because I have something to refer back to.
Think about how much easier it is to learn the second and third language after you've mastered the first, because you now understand the principles, right? Versus let me learn all three languages at the same time. There's just there's no way around it. The
It's
person that's
not the most efficient way for sure.
It's not, and that's where I think we could take our traditional martial arts side and really elevate it and position the next generation. No matter what rule set they want to compete in, we can provide them an avenue, right? We can show them that you can be a professional, you can compete at the highest level, you can then earn a living. Like, it's all there. And I think
Yeah,
the individuals that figure out how to do what you just said, learn, get proficient in your first language, right? Then
yeah,
start adding, right? Second, third. That's going to build an incredible academy that's going to have longevity, right?
yeah,
Not the flavor of the week, not the, what's the top hot thing to do, right? It's and it's a little more boring, right? Because nobody wants to practice the basics. Nobody wants the jab step, right? Nobody, like, I want to spar, right? But no,
I,
get on the line and do
it's
10
not
rounds of just
sexy,
jab
but
stepping.
right, it's not sexy to do the things that you've always done. But
No.
I'm gonna guess that you're in a place similar to I am, that there's like a donut hole there that early on when it's new, it's fun. And then you think you know it and it's boring. And then you realize you don't know it and it's the most important thing, and you're like, I actually just want to spend my time on this, because the better that jab, the better that step, the better that side kick, the better everything else gets.
You
It's the
just said it.
foundation. How do you build a tall building? You build a solid foundation. What if you want to make that building even taller? You've got to reinforce the foundation.
Mhm. I mean that's it. And I think we just Schneider reminded me, like, Sparks,
Yeah.
you grew up around these guys. Like,
Yeah.
we're just different. Like, it's not, and we're not better than, we're not less than, just different. But when you grow up around literally world champions at the highest level, in the like they're in the training room, your approach to training is just different. It's not going to be the same as someone that's going to class 2 days a week recreationally, right? It's just elevated. It's a different, and I think that was the thing is, you know, they focus so much on those fundamentals, and then it allowed to add, to create, right, to experiment. But we can't just go in there and try to, like, to your point, throw it all together and expect to have high level success. You'll have some. It may be fun, it may be a great workout, right? But am I going to keep someone 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? Or am I going to get them coming back and refining it, right, to get a little bit better? And then the hardest thing is showing people that you have to evolve, right? There's always someone better. So am I still being the student? Am I getting uncomfortable? We don't need to blast each other anymore, especially striking, right? Like, TBIs are real, but we could still find out. If you find the right partners, we can keep each other honest. Am I doing that? Or am I resting on my laurels? Am I resting on my career, but I haven't trained in 10 years, right? Like, so that's for me. I keep teaching my boys, like, if you're going to run an academy, your name is on the door, you're responsible for that rank, right? So you're a professional martial artist. That means people pay you. So that makes it a profession, right? You need to treat it like the NFL, like no different. Like that's the approach to the academy. Your training, your recovery, your work. That's how we do it in my household. This is a professional job. It literally affords our family, to live. So I've been, like, talking with my sons as they're now, I'm passing the baton to them, right? As I'm transitioning with my story and where I'm at, now I got to pass it. And it's the topic's perfect because it's exactly where we're at with, coming up real soon, the birthday bash in November, right?
Mhm.
One of the greatest martial artists of all time, Bill Superfoot Wallace, is going to turn 80. And in November, we're going to have the best, biggest martial arts mega bash with some of the biggest stars, that are going to, be in attendance. Like,
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
that's a
But
really
then
big
we
deal.
got to make sure we're ready to pass we got to make sure that we have everything set to share that legacy so it doesn't, fizzle out. And I'm excited. I think we have a good group of people that are ready to do it.
For sure, for sure. And in case people wonder, at 80, uh, Bill Wallace still kicks better than I ever have.
He kicked me in the head, like, a month ago when I saw him, or 2 months ago in High Point. Literally just whack right in the head. Like, he was demonstrating on one of the students, and he was and the dude's like, I think he almost broke my rib. Like, with gloves on, he hit him. Like, yeah, the guy, he's a beast, right? They don't make humans like that anymore.
No, no, they don't. I was talking I think it's 3 years ago now. I was talking with Danny Dring, who's
Hmm.
been on the show,
Yeah.
and Danny was talking about holding pads for Bill. And actually, after this, we've got to go back. We've got to talk about your upbringing
Yes,
in
sir.
the arts, because you keep talking about this time context, but and Danny was talking about holding pads for Bill. Bill's wearing gloves and he's
Mhm.
holding pads, and he's like, Jeremy, I felt his knuckles. I could feel his knuckles
That's crazy.
through the glove,
Yep.
through the pads. And so at this point, he's, at the time of that story, 75, 76 years old. You know, um, the man is otherworldly.
Yes.
And I have this theory that everybody in the world has one thing they can do that they can do better than anybody else. And most of us don't find it. And when you see the person who has found it, it is so obvious. And anyone who is trained with Bill Wallace knows this. All right, so now I think we've got to talk about your upbringing. We've spent a bunch of time talking about people that we love, right? Which is always it's always fun to talk about these other people that we get to learn at the feet of. But the fact that you've ended up training with these amazing people, there's always a story there, but let's go back.
Mhm.
So when did you start training? Were you one of the teeny little ones or
Yep.
yeah.
So it was out of necessity, honestly. So
Okay.
I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, and
Mm,
blue collar, Irish Italian Catholic, family. Walked to school. My mom was, Italian lady, and she put bow tie, sweater vest, and I got thrown in trash cans. Like
yeah.
I just got picked on, man. I was
Yeah.
tiny, I was scrawny, and just got picked on. My uncle Gino told at when I was 7 said, "Christopher, you're coming to class," and he took me on a Saturday morning. So he was a vet, Army retired, and martial artist. And I did my first Kyokushinkai class and fell in love with it, man. Just started training all the way
Was it
up,
a
and then
kids class or were
no, it
you
was
in
an
with the
adult
adult?
class.
So
I was
you're
straight in the adult
7 and
class.
you're there on a Saturday morning with the adults and
Yep, it was that old school. Yeah, here you just work with this guy, right? I was the kid that they let in class. So pretty cool to like, because I've seen it now as an adult. Like dad brings, yeah, just throw Johnny in the, like, here, we'll mess with him. Well, I kept coming back and they kept training me, right? So it was 10 a.m. Saturday morning, Rising Sun Avenue, like just over and over and over. And then in the neighborhood, I had friends. Like then we went to the Y, the karate programs at the Y. So I was bouncing around. I did a couple years with my uncle, and then really at about 16, 17, I found this amazing instructor. Shout out to Xian Gashiao. Man, that was really, Dennis was my first real, like, impressionable, like, okay, you're going to grow up, Sparky, and go teach the intro class. Huh? Okay, right? Sensei, right? At the time, right? So I started training common and large in the neighborhood. And then I remember I was a yellow belt in the system I was in, which is like 3 belts in, right? And he goes, Sparks, you're fighting bare knuckle. Sensei,
how old are you
right?
at that point? How old are you?
19, I think, at that
Okay.
point, right?
Okay.
So I'm teaching, working at the school, but I'm not a black belt yet, right? And they had this in the Meadowlands. This was back 1999. So it wasn't MMA, but it wasn't karate. You could grapple and strike, full contact, bare knuckle, right? No eye gouging, biting, but the old school rule set without the gloves, it was kind of the MMA was trying to make, come up.
Mhm.
So I did the first fight and I drew a 3rd-degree black belt in my first round. And then back then, the weight division was 160 and under. Your boy was 142 on a good day. So I gave up 20, and like the dude just outranked me by everything. I went 4 minutes and 46 seconds, and then I got knocked out with a knee to the head. He clinched,
You know
kneed me, and
what?
that was a wrap,
That's pretty
right?
solid for
But
that
that was my first
discrepancy.
fight ever. Like, dude, ever. We didn't do like amateur boxing, amateur kickboxing, karate tournament. No, let's go. So go back to I'm 7 years old and I'm training with adults. When they told, okay, I just didn't know any better. I was getting beat up my whole career as a kid. I was the kid that just the adults would beat up and I would come back. So now thinking about it, I was that training partner that everybody loved. I was a rest round. I was light, right? All the, like, I can accept that. Like, people probably looked at me as, oh, yeah, I'll grab Sparky. Well, guess what? I got reps. I got reps every week. I'm training with the best guy, like the best people, because I'm willing to do it. Now, I'm getting lumped up and killed. So 6 months later, he goes, "You're fighting bare knuckle again." Okay. I took a round kick to the neck, got knocked out. So we're 0-2 in my career at this point, and we got to figure out what are we going to do with our life. I'm paying my way through college, learning elementary special education at LaSalle University, running the academy, apartment, car. So I say that to say there's no reason you need to be a broke martial artist. We'll talk about that later, but you can make a great living. If anyone's listening, call me. I'll give you a 30-minute free consult. I just want to help you. But that was I realized, holy crap, this can actually, I could do this for real. My sensei would come in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Teach some classes, roll home. I would come. I'm like, man, he doesn't have to ask anybody to go on vacation. So I think that was the attraction for me. I was learning some amazing martial artists at a school that was the largest karate school in the country at the time. They had TV commercials. You know what I mean? The head guy was a legend, 100-0, undefeated at the first karate college. You know what I mean? So it was pretty awesome that I found it, and I'm in Philly, right? So uh, I then decided that maybe I'm not meant to be, a bare knuckle full contact professional. It's okay. So can we do some karate tournaments? And then I started. Then I did the circuit and I won. I got the trophies. Then I did some kickboxing, did some Muay Thai. I was 5-0 as a boxer in Philly, amateur boxing. So I had a couple shows, right? Got the fight at the Blue Herring, which is like a big deal for Philly people, right? It's like where Rocky in the first Rocky, he's fighting Spider Rico. So that was how this Philly boy started martial arts. It was out of necessity, and I was just willing to get the shit kicked out. Like, that's the reality. I was willing to take the beating to learn. So I just kept coming back, and that was your first quote in the beginning, right? I just got a little less sucky, right? So it has now been 40 years I've been training martial arts.
There's a discipline in that, right? That showing up that I suspect wasn't just something you figured out for yourself. That was something in the way you were raised.
My
Um,
dad, yep, my mom, amazing.
yeah, you're gonna do this. You said you were gonna do this. You're gonna keep doing this. We
Mm-hmm.
just paid for this. You're not gonna quit. Whatever that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
you, when you show up, you show up, right? And I was raised in that way too. And I think, if we go back to earlier parts of our conversation, I think that is part of what is challenging for people today is the attention span is shorter. There's a desire for shortcuts. How many people out there are you probably see this too. Well, I really want to train this lineage of this style, this, very narrow thing, but it's nowhere nearby. Oh, so what do you train? Well, I don't. So
Makes
because
no
you can't
sense to me.
have the thing that you think is the perfect style, you're doing zero training. Wouldn't anything be better than nothing? And it's because they don't actually want to train. They're
That's right.
setting themselves up because I've seen people like this, right? We all know people like this. I'm going to do this, and that, right? They're great at the planning. They're terrible at the implementation.
Execution. Execute, execute, execute. That was Jocko's morning. That's all he put this morning. Execute,
Mm.
execute, execute. And I think that's where most people in general, right? They do. They can have great plans, but can they execute, right?
Are they willing to show up and get beat on? Are they willing to be the small one in the room? If I did my math right, we're right about the same age. And I had a lot of that too because I started when I was 4. And so
Wow.
eventually I've progressed enough in rank that even though I'm 4 foot nothing and,
Mhm.
87 pounds, I'm showing up to the adult class.
That's right.
And some of them treated me really gently, but most of them pushed me, especially my instructors, right? So there's that cultural element there in the 80s of, if you're going to be a kid in the adult class, we're going to treat you like an adult is, within reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a commonality that I'm going to guess attracted you to the Superfoot training, the Joe Lewis training, as you started to meet those people, and we've got to hear how, whatever
Yep.
path gets us there. But that's something that all those people have in common is they love to train and they're willing to put in their reps. They're willing to be student first. It's not about stripes, it's not about rank, it's about we're all here to help each other get better.
I love this quote. My rank is none of my business. It's my coach's.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. That is perfect.
And it really is true. I choose a coach, and this will now we'll talk about how I found Superfoot and Joe.
Sure.
Right? I choose a coach. Well, if I want what he has, then I need to do what he does. Right? I
Mm.
don't tell the help how to help. Like, baffling to me. Like, people will ask me to coach them, then they'll tell me what they want to like. Okay, well, we could do that, but would you like? It's just I shake my head. So I think I tell my students that quote right away, and then I have a personal experience. So I'm doing all of that, and I'm fighting, training, loving it, and then I decided to kind of grow up a little bit. I maybe was ripping and running a little too much, that lifestyle as a fighter, right? And so I got sober, and I'm open about it. I'm going to celebrate 20 years August 15th coming up,
Congratulations. That's
God
amazing.
willing, right? So I put that stuff down, and it was like, all right, let's focus. Um, and I moved to North Carolina for a job opportunity. So it was like a fresh start. I'm newly married. I'm sober, and like I got this corporate gig. I'm wearing Armani suits, but guess what? I'm not doing.
You're not training.
Nah, not real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never not trained, but like, not the way we train, right?
Yeah.
I went from, I'm, I'm literally, I was driving 3 days a week to train with the instructors for instructor training. I would drive 2 hours, 3 hours, get destroyed, do a business meeting, drive back, and then at 4 o'clock, you ran the academy from 4 to 10. That was my life for years, right? Total apprenticeship. Learned the martial arts business inside and out, and I learned what it takes to be a sensei. Like, you got to you got to train. You can't stop, right? At least in that lineage, that style. So I moved to North Carolina, and I can't find anything that's even close because we all think ours is the best, right? Like, so I did the comparison, the what you just said. I can't find what I want, so I wasn't training. I literally did that. Like, you dummy. Like, just go do something. Train in something. But sitting at home does not make sense, right? So I remember pulling into this academy and it said champions train here. And I just pulled out. I'm like, whatever. Like, I was so disgusted because every place I went into, honestly, they all sucked. Like, I could destroy the instructors. So I'm like, how can I, like, and I humbly, like, I don't want people to get this twisted. Like, I am the student first. I have the privilege to teach. There's always someone better. But I'm not going to apologize for 40 years of getting the crap beat out of me. I'm not that bad at martial arts. I'm a little good. So I just had this in my head, like, I'm coming from bare knuckle, full contact, grappling and striking. Like, I'm looking for the guy, and I can't find the guy because it was all ego. I didn't have the humility. So I go try some other places. Nothing worked. Finally, I go back to that gym that I pulled out of because it was Steve Schneider's gym and Maria Schneider. And anybody that knows their names, they're both badass world champ. Like, Maria's a amateur world champion, first female to be a black belt under Joe Lewis and Bill Wallace, first female to fight in the cage in North Carolina, right? And then Professor Schneider is black belts in everything, right? Bill, Joe, Weeping Style. His coach is Master Danny Dring, right? That's my grand coach. And just saying that, my butt just puckered because he'll kill me. So, like, I didn't know that I had that lineage just sitting there. How would you know, right? Because they're so humble. They're not advertising, you know what I mean? Like, that they're these bad, like, they had a good school, right? They had a great program. I walked in, told Mr. Schneider who I was, right? And it was probably over the top. And he probably was like, this guy's an idiot. And he's like, come to class. So I show up to class. I got to meet Mike Haig, one of my dear training partner, best friends, and he just wipes the floor with me. This kid was so technical, pop, 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 like just literally. I was like, wow. So that was it. I'm sold, right? That's what I needed. I needed people better than me. That's all I wanted. I wasn't being a dick. I want to learn. I love the process, brother. Like, look, I'm getting fired up. I'm ready to go train now.
I
I'm
can
getting
tell.
fired up
I can
here,
tell.
right? Because I love it. I love learning. I want to get better. So then I come to jiu-jitsu, and he goes, well, what belt are you? And I'm like, I'm probably a blue belt. All right, this is 2007. Like, he was a purple belt at the time. There was no black belts there was one black belt in North Carolina. So here's this guy from Philly sounding like a jackwagon, right? He put me with Tank, one of dear long-term training partner. He's a black belt now. That guy wiped the floor with me in the gi. So what we talked about happened. I went into 2 different classes and was completely the student again. I was sold.
And you loved
So
it.
I loved it. And so coach asked me the most important question. Are you okay starting over as a white belt in both systems? Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir, is what I
Was there
said.
any hesitation?
Zero hesitation,
None.
brother. None. Signed up that day. I've been with them going on 18, 19 years, right? So that now I'm in North Carolina, and I found a whole new martial arts family. So I train under, Mr. Schneider. I earned my black belt in kickboxing under him. I earned my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was one of only, I think, 3 people in his lifetime that he recommended to test with Grandmaster Joe Lewis and Grandmaster Bill Wallace. So I'm blessed to say that I've now achieved a 4th degree black belt under Grandmaster Wallace and a 4th degree black belt under Grandmaster Lewis, thanks to Steve Schneider and Danny Dring and Campo and all my all the brothers, right? All the guys that laid the groundwork. Nelly, right? Uncle Nelson and Perry and Craig. Like, there's just so many long old school guys. I was on the phone with Terry and Natsky the other day. Like, they're like I get to hang out with the best martial artists in the
These
world.
are great.
They're
These
my
are great.
friends,
They're
right?
such wonderful people.
It's just a privilege, brother. Like,
Yeah.
that truly is. So I'm so glad I walked into his school because it changed my life. It totally changed my trajectory, and it changed my martial arts forever. I'm a different martial artist because of it.
And that's obvious, and that's actually what I want to ask you about, because you were so open about saying, that there was some ego coming in to that
Mm.
process. And it sounds like you went from ego to humility and pretty quickly. And that's not a common thing. There was something, and I don't know if it's something that came out of your personal upbringing with your parents or your martial arts upbringing, but I'm guessing there was something that you very quickly recognized that made you say, okay, there's more, but you were comfortable with it in a way that very few people are. Most people, and been doing this show a long time, so I've got lots of stories to fall back on. Most people, when they're in that ego place and they're confronted with, and this is part of my story even, they're confronted with information, skills, people that make them say, I am not as good as I thought I was. Most people run.
They do.
In my case, I, when it was appropriate, ran in the bathroom and cried.
Mm-hmm. Been there, done that, got a t-shirt.
That was my first Superfoot training camp in Florida. I cried because where I thought I was is not where I was.
Yep.
But you made a quick transition, it sounds like.
I
Wow.
saw, I saw the group, and I knew I had to make a choice. This was a special group, right? And you just don't get to stick around, right? Like, it's just, it really is. So I leaned into it and I said, I don't want to mess this up. This is like, and Schneider was so awesome because he was very, yeah, man, come to class. Like, very, like, open, loving, caring, but matter of fact. Like, you want to train, great. If not, now that's like high five. And I
Mhm.
think that's what was attractive to me. Like, he wasn't begging me, he wasn't trying to sign me up. Like, it was pure. You could see the passion that those two were running that school. It was pure passion. And I just wanted to be a part of it. Right. And I think that's how I made that. And I already came from the the training side. So we already beat in the discipline, and that was my I owe it to my upbringing. My dad was a union electrician, 35 years, man. 4:30 in the morning every day, never missed work. My mom, dental, assistant, put me through high school, got a second job. Like, I watched these two sacrifice and just do the deal and give me and my brother the best childhood we could possibly have growing up in Philadelphia, right? So I think that was always in the back of my head, like, just get up and do the thing. Just don't
Mhm.
quit. That's it. Just don't quit. And I think seeing my parents do that, and then being around martial artists, and then being around adult martial artists as a kid, like, I just learned. Everyone keep telling me, just don't quit, Sparks. Just don't quit. And that really got grained into me. So then when I got humbled in High Point, I had that choice that night, and I looked at my wife, and I'm like, I found my place. Not like, oh my God, I just got killed. I was like a kid. Like, I found my people. I found
Mhm.
my tribe, because they're not going to tell me what I need to hear. They're going to tell me they're going to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, and they're going to treat me just as the student, right? No different. And then I get to truly find out, do I actually have a skill set? Right? Do I have the skills that I think I have up here? And then the best part is, it's such a welcoming, safe environment that we can find out. Me and you. We could sit here, talk, and then we go, all right, time out. Let's go try it. I know I could do that with you.
Yes.
And we go pop, pop,
Yes.
pop, pop, and then go, okay, that worked. That, I think, is where I'm at now. I just want to do that for people. I want to share whatever 40 years of knowledge is up here, even if I can't physically do it like I used to. I want to just give the information away. I want to give it away and pass it on.
It's about the training. And I'm going to guess
It
if we
is.
went back to you in your early upbringing, that that school was about the training, that rank was, I don't want to necessarily say an afterthought, but it wasn't what was most important.
It was not the primary. No, it
It
was the skills.
was,
It was the skills was the primary from the beginning. It always was. Rank
yeah,
became just an added blessing. And you know what? This is important. I'm going to hit this for a second, because
sure.
what a great point. I think a lot of parents sign their kids up and they use the stripe and the belt. So then that's all that is to the kid, not the tenets, not the principles, not the life lessons. So I try to preach that and really not put a lot of focus on the belts and the stripes.
Right. The majority of our kids in our program are still training in street clothes and have never been promoted. We don't make it about rank. Rank is a choice. Most of our students are white belts. They show up, they have a great time. We have people who've been promoted who've never put on a gi. They don't wear their belt on their street clothes,
No, no, sure.
because we made it training first. And that was a difficult decision for us because we knew in the modern era that 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 for a lot of people, especially younger people, that rank is a carrot. It keeps them coming back. But we agreed, my co-instructor and I, we agreed that it may make the business side of things harder for
Mm,
us, but we're going to end up with more of the right people. And
right.
over time, more of the right people should build us the culture, which should bring in even more of the right people.
That's it.
And it
I'm
should get us where we're trying to go.
that's the beauty. I think you and I have that similar background, and I think it's now, how do we position our academies so that we can still do both, right? I don't need to be Mickey Mouse, right? I need to earn a living, but I still need to have integrity in the style, the system, the skills, the rank.
And for me, you've got to meet people where they're at, right? I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they're talking about an instructor of theirs, actually an instructor's instructor, who, set the bar really crazy high, and you know, I don't mind if I don't have 500 students. Well, they had 10 and then they had 0.
Right.
Right. And so if your job is to, if you are a martial arts instructor and you don't have students, are you an instructor? If you're, it's one thing if you close the door and you're not an instructor, but if you're not an instructor because your methods aren't able to meet people where they're at, that's not a good instructor. To me, it's worse than if on your first day I say, all right, we're going to go over the third form.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about the first and the second form? Well, you don't need those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just going to skip you ahead. Well, I've got to help them get there in terms of focus and discipline, and the other, what we often call soft skills, that are the foundation of the training. Because if you don't have the discipline, if you can't show up when you're 7 years old and you're taking leg kicks,
Yep.
because I'm guessing that they love sparring you because you were smaller, because I was smaller, and they're like, oh man, leg kicks, we can use leg kicks. Bam, bam. I was like, oh.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why we're both so short, right? Because
We never got to
because
grow. Right. They
they
just
chopped us
they
down.
kept us
Yeah,
down there.
our
That's
growth
funny.
plates or something. Who knows?
Mhm. Yeah.
But you've got to meet people where they're at when you're an instructor, and you can help them get there. In the same way you can teach the physical skills, you can help them teach the discipline. And times have changed, but it gives us, I think, even more of an ability. And so the way I reconcile that integrity versus meeting them where they're at, I had we have a family class which is all ages, and a parent will bring their kids. We've had grandparents, and there was a set of grandparents that brought a 6-year-old, and I'm not going to name them, and they know I'm telling the story of
Sure.
what I told them. They were having a hard time getting the 6-year-old to show up, and they truly believed that this was very important for this child. So they were going to take time off. And I said, all of you? Yeah. I said, well, I hope I'm not overstepping. But if you want your 6-year-old grandchild to believe that training is important,
Mm-hmm.
the two of you need to keep training, because you need to model that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't
So
like that.
no, and I walked into an academy visiting, and on the wall the instructor had, "Kids don't quit, parents do."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like that's like, it's really in your face. And I think that's the beauty of us, and being a professional. Have those tough conversations, have that uncomfortable, but if we're not going to do it, who will? Right? I think we've gotten, just in general, we're so scared to hurt feelings. And
Yeah.
like, like I've had to, like even me, I'm trying to like balance it, but like we have to get back to calling things what they truly are, and especially in the
Yeah.
martial arts world, because it's dangerous. I don't want to give someone a false sense of security. I don't want them to think they have a skill set that they don't, because
True.
that like I'm doing them a disservice. So you were talking about the instructors, and I think that's where it goes back to, you know, are your instructors, are they training, are they getting together, are they working out, who are they learning from, what have they done in their personal training, are they signing up for the next, seminar or tournament, like
Right.
what are they doing to remain the student so that they have the privilege to teach. So, for me, I come into 2020. I'm in North Carolina now, training with my coach. I'm a black belt under Bill, black belt under Joe. I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at that point, right? And I had an academy with 337 members, 9 employees, right? I got to become a combatives instructor. So from John Maynard, he blessed
Yeah.
me, brought me into that world, learned that
Yeah.
program. Then I was training operators, LEOs, like I'm non-military, non-law enforcement. my way of serving was doing that, teaching combatives, right? And so I got to do contract work with some of the baddest dudes on the planet, right? So once again, sign me up. I would just stand in the room and listen. And when they needed someone, I'll be the uke. So it got me another opportunity to learn another skill. So I'm actually a level 4 combatives instructor under the OSBD program. So that's a big deal. Like I can now help, law enforcement and operators with some skills to get them home to their family. Like, man, that's so rewarding. I love it. And I don't charge for it. I do it for free whenever I can. So uh, I'm with Master Dring. It is Thursday night, March the 2nd in 2020. We're down in South Carolina doing jujitsu. And my stomach is pushed out like I look like I'm 9 months pregnant. And he went to go knee on belly, and he just looked at me like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Next morning, I'm in the ICU. I flatline and die. March 3rd, 2020.
Don't I remember
Um,
this?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
keep
we had the
going.
Mid-Atlantic kickboxing camp was being hosted.
Yep.
Saturday morning, Master Wallace shows up in my hospital room. He takes a glove, snaps on. He goes, all right, what do I got to do? He's like, let me do something. And the nurse is like, what do you want to do? He goes, anything. I'm like trying not to cry and laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
He showed up, Terry showed up, Schneider, Dring, and I got diagnosed with 5 incurable chronic and progressive diseases. They told me as little as 18 months to live. Um,
I
so
guess if you're, if you come from that sort of background, if you're going to do something, you might as well go all in.
that's what Drink said. Go big or go home, right? Might as well. Let's do it. Um, and so I say that to say martial arts saved my life. No, there's no way around it. My lifestyle and martial arts gave me the ability to be still talking to you right now. It's been 5 years since I was diagnosed, and I'm on a podcast talking to you. So the discipline, all the things that we learn, martial arts is much bigger than kicks and punches. It gave me the strength, the resilience, the discipline, and the wherewithal to fight this thing head on. Obviously, God's my source, right? Through Him. But I started fighting because I'm a fighter, right? I did 18 months of all the traditional stuff. Nothing worked. I got down to 119 pounds. I was throwing up blood every day. So I did the camp, Master Wallace, Terry, they saw me. Like, we kind of said our goodbyes, like, for real, in High Point. It was crazy. Like, we were down to September of 2022, and the doctors didn't think I'd make it to Christmas. And then I met New Hope Regeneration, man. I met Kevin Lucas, the co-founder, and he was in the martial arts world. Like, I had sold my house and thought I would have to go out of the country to do stem cells. That's what I heard. Like, I had to go, right? It was $35,000. I'd need at least 2 times. So my wife sold our house, like, literally got the money so we could do it. I was so sick I couldn't leave. I couldn't get there. So through the martial arts community, I get on the phone with this guy and he goes, I can't make it worse. As long as you're okay with that, let's try. It's God's medicine. Like, let's do it. In January of 2023, I stopped all my other treatments. It's now been 2.5 years. I don't even take an ibuprofen. I'm not on a single medication. No prescriptions. No chemo. No radiation. No nothing. Just living my life to the best of my ability. And I'm teaching again a little bit. It gave me the ability and the hope. I just helped my son. He opened his first academy at the lake in Lake Ariel, SMA Academy, Lake Ariel. He wants to do it. He wants to. So when I told you earlier, this is me passing the baton, I truly am. I'm pouring everything into my son and my other son to teach them, because whatever time I have it is what it is. I'm already, today's a gift. So I wake up every day and all I try to do is train martial arts a little bit, teach my son something, and then help someone. Like, that's my life now. I want to be a true servant leader and give back what the martial arts community gave me. I want to give it back to whoever wants it, and some people call and take advantage of it. Some don't, and that's okay. But that's where I feel like right now, I think my job is just to give hope to people And if they need help with the business, I want to help them. If they need, they need help with their health, I'll help them. Like, I'll give my experience, strength, and hope to anybody right now, anyone that wants it. So that was a crazy turn, man. Lost the academy because then COVID hit March 15th. So
Right.
we went
That's
out
where
of
I thought
business.
that story was going.
That's where it went. Yeah, sorry, duh. And
No,
then
that's
March
okay.
15th, boom, we closed and we're out of business. So I had 17 prescriptions per day, 5 different rounds of poison. I did 3 surgeries. They took a foot of my colon. They took 8 inches of my rectum. They took my gallbladder out. We did all that. They basically said, Sparks, you need a colostomy bag and a feeding tube for the rest of your life, and you'll never do martial arts again. That was 5 years ago.
So I'm going to say this because this is your episode, and I don't think this will offend you. This may offend some people out there.
No, please.
But as I get older, I care a little bit less. And I say it because there may be one person out there that hears this. I believe there's always a way. And I think martial arts can teach us, if we listen, that if you keep showing up and you keep trying things, eventually you'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something a little more conventional, like, hey, there's somebody in your school that's a better whatever than you, better fighter than you, and
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yep.
or a rival at a point sparring competition, and they always beat you, 5-2 or 3-1 or whatever. Eventually, you'll find a way, and 3-1 becomes 3-2, and then maybe you start beating them. But you tried, you did it the right way, right? You did what they told you to do. You took the meds, you had the
I did.
surgeries, and they weren't your words, but I can't make you worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people out there in that situation that by the time they make it there, they've quit.
That's right.
No, I'm just, let me just write out the time that I have.
I almost did that. You're right.
And I there are so many people, and we can't, I just went through a bit of this personally, with someone, and her story was both, right? She fought for a very long time as my mother. She fought for a very long time, and then
Sorry, bro.
she was ready. Thank you. She was ready to be done. But if she hadn't had her training, she wouldn't have fought at
Right.
all.
That's right.
And when we keep showing up, when we keep fighting, whether it's, because they're hacking out pieces of your body and they've run out of things to take out that might help, because I'm
Yep.
guessing that that's where it was. They're like, we don't know what else to take out.
Yeah, that was it. They just said, look, we'll give you a colostomy bag. We'll give you a feeding tube. You can have 40 milligrams of oxys, 20 milligrams of Percocets 3 times a day. Now, I want to be clear. I have 20 years sober, August 15th. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do narcotics either, right? I found an all natural way, right? I don't need to be a martyr, but I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to add another thing I got to now deal with. So
Right.
I keep it all natural, man. And is it hard? Every day. I wake up every day. It's here. It's some days I don't wake up. My day starts because I've been up from the
Mm.
pain. Like I get to. That's my mentality now. Well, I just say thank you when I wake up and pray in the morning, and I get to. What can I get into today? That's my attitude. It's a gift, right? So I'm just excited to see where the day is going to take me.
And I think that that's it, is that I see people who their best days are behind them.
Mm,
And I see people in their early 30s, their
I know
best
it's
days are
crazy.
behind them.
Yeah.
And it's it's depressing because I just turned 46. My best days are in front of me. They will
Dude,
always be in front of me. And I think that this is the common denominator, and this is what martial arts can teach us. And I think that you're exemplifying it so powerfully. What's today going to bring? What 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 can I learn? When I don't know if you know, I do consulting work. We have a program called whistlekick Alliance for schools. You know the number one thing I have to help a school solve before anything else can change? That the person in charge loves training. Over
That's
the
it.
years, it is the thing I have found. It is
You
the
just nailed
glue.
it.
If I can't get them to love their training, it doesn't matter what else I do.
Nope.
Does not matter a bit. And so when I find someone and after months of sometimes I attack it, sometimes I go around the corner, sometimes I come in from the back, if if I can't get them to love training, hey, you know what? This is what you need to do. If you're not willing to do this, I'm not going to keep taking your money because I'd rather you be upset that I fired you than you are upset 6 months from now when it's been a year and I've taken your money and you've seen no change.
That's exactly right. I want people that like want to learn. So I put it out there. This is our way. It's not the right way. It's not the wrong way. It's a way. Like Master Drink says it so beautifully. It's a way, man. Sticks, knives, and 45s. Martial arts is just for fun, right? There's combatives and self-defense, and then there's martial arts. I think that's the other thing. They're two different things, you know. So I think there's also a set of martial artists that think that they have a skill set that it's not even close. Like, and that's where Bill said, "Let's find out," and they went and they trailblazed. That's why they were trailblazers. They went and found out if their system works, and they did it forged in fire. That's the only way. So that's the only way I know. Someone asks me a question. If I don't know the answer, let's figure it out. Come on. Or I know a coach that does, and I'll call. I may not be a world champion, but I have world champions in my iPhone. So let's call them and we'll find out. So that's what I want to do now. I'll connect to, let's find the answer together. And if it's a skill I don't have, I want to acquire it. I don't want to stop learning. Again, it's a gift. I shouldn't be here. I really shouldn't. So I refuse to waste these gifts, but I'm like you. I also have to be careful because I got no F's left to give. I just say what I want now because like this is house money, man. It really is. So I definitely offend some people, but I'm sorry. Like the truth hurts sometimes, and people did it for me. I'm so grateful. So that's why I choose the people I choose because they're not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to tell me where I'm truly at. They're going to tell me what I need to do, right? And that's for me such a blessing. The definition of leadership is to influence others. How am I using my influence? And we have a responsibility. Guys like us, we've been in the game. We have a responsibility. I truly we owe it. We are, we are literally crapping on the gift if we just not have standards and guidelines and tell people how it is and really try to help them. And then if they don't want it, we just move on. We give our time to the people that truly deserve it, that want it, right? There's a lot of people that want it that don't deserve it. So that's where I'm shifting. But this trip, 3 weeks, right? It's
Mhm.
vacation. I couldn't wait to talk to you, right? Because this is what we love. It's who we are. It's what I do. I'm passionate. I do it for free a lot, and then every now and again I get compensated. I probably do it more for free than I do, at this stage of my game. I just want to give it away, right? But it's just such a blessing. It's such a gift, and then now we get to see. All right, what's the second half of this year look like? Right? What trainings, what seminars, what group activities do we have? Like, I get to plan my calendar for all the workouts that are coming up. You just gave me a new one. If I'm in town, I'm coming there on the 20th. Like, that's the goal. Fill the calendar with opportunities to expose my son and daughter and wife first. We're a family of martial artists. We all train. They're going to help me run the school. I still have. We reopened. My students said we're not going to let this be the story. So 3 of my students opened the academy again, and they're already back to 100 students in Charlotte.
That's great.
And then we just opened the gym for my son. We're already at 30 students in Lake Ariel. We opened up 22 kids, 14 adults right out of the gates. So, like, we're getting ready to open a third school for one of my black belts. She wants to open. Like, I'm pinching myself. Like, I could focus on the diagnosis and the fact that I was up at 4 o'clock and I was sick and I was throwing up and I was in pain. Or I could walk the beach, film, prepare for this, right? Open up schools, teach. Attitude and activity. They're the only two things I can control.
The things that I think, and they're all fighting to come out right now. But I wanna thank you first for being so open, because I think people need to hear these stories. And my hope, and let me just talk to the audience for a moment. Some of you out there know someone who needs to hear this. And maybe you don't get them to listen to the whole episode, but you can fast forward. You can do that on YouTube. You can find the timestamp and you can say, hey, I need you to listen to like the 10 minutes here, because they need to hear these things, because we all need these lessons. And those of us that came up through good, great, amazing instructors, we learn those lessons. Or maybe we learn them at home. We learn them, that discipline is the thing. And I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to suck a little bit less each time that I show up. But we live in a world where I think there's a crisis of discipline. You agree, Kris? There's a
100
crisis.
100% that we are in a th- this is the gratification, dopamine addicted. I want it now. There's like it's just it's insane, and discipline looks foreign. It's almost frowned upon. Like I get judged for being disciplined, like in today's society, which is crazy to me.
What is um, one of the most of all the Gen Alpha slang, the one that bothers me the most? You're doing too much.
Oh my God, I get that all the time. You need to
You're
slow
doing too
down.
much.
You need to slow down. You need to rest. I'll
There's a
sleep when I'm
time and a
dead.
place for that, but if your default rest, if rest is your default, you're
Yeah,
undisciplined, because
yeah,
you never know what's coming. You don't know what battle you're fighting for, whether it's a literal battle, a medical battle, a financial battle. We exist in a world where so much goes right so much of the time, that we're now in our second generation of people who don't see the value of training for the fights.
there's no off season in our sport.
No.
We're training for life, right? We're training to be a black belt in life, right? So when the time comes that your life depends on you learning a skill, it's too late to learn it. You will not rise to the occasion. Rather, you will sink to the level of your training. So when life shows up and says you got 18 months to live, if I don't have the reps and the discipline, I lose that fight, right? That it's that simple for me. I'm the healthiest sick guy the doctors know. I refuse to quit. Non-quitting spirit, non-quitting attitude. That was my approach with rank. If I just kept showing up, eventually he's going to have to promote me, right?
Have you written a book, man? Are you going to write a book? This sounds
Thank
like
you.
perfect book stuff. It really
Everyone
does.
keeps, everyone keeps. I got a journal and I just started journaling, but everyone keeps telling me I should write the book and then tell the story. So
I
thank you.
I think every time somebody tells a story like this, or writes a book like this, or there's a movie like this, I feel like some people are reached. Right? There's no magic bullet, there's no home run that gets
All we need
everybody.
is one, right?
But
That's it.
one could influence two, right? Like you don't know how it cascades in future generations. Because if you don't write the book, if you don't tell the story, then the lesson is lost and the next generation has to figure it out for themselves. And how many people don't fight and lose the battle because they
Yeah,
didn't have
because
the
they didn't know
information, they
they
didn't have the
right.
skills. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can,
So I
that's really it, man. Right? God speaks through people. So if I can help one person today, just one, that then and I don't get to determine. So I just show up when I'm asked. Right? You ask me, of course, the answer is always yes. Especially obviously for someone like you or Bill or any. But in martial arts in general, when the martial arts community asks and calls on me, I rarely say no. because it's blessed me, it's helped me, it's given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. My family, like, so in 2010, through the encouragement of my coach, to Steve Schneider, he said, "Oh, like, it's time." And I walked away from corporate America back then. Like, but that was because coach encouraged me, and he didn't, make any money to do that. Like, he helped me and believed in me. So now I just got to do it for the next generation.
We are, to my knowledge, we're the only species that lives selfishly,
Mm-hmm.
right? What happens for most animals when they can't contribute anymore, when they're not, reproductive, when they're unhealthy, when they're going to attract too much attention, they go off in the woods and they die, right? Like the
That's what they
priorities
do.
on the
Yeah.
species. And it shows up a little bit differently for us, but I think we have a responsibility to our species, which is to pass on what we can to the next generation to help them be more. And I say it as I'm just trying to make the world better. And I say just because
Yeah.
I think it's everyone's obligation to
Mm-hmm.
try to make the world a little better. It doesn't have to be a lot better. You don't have to solve everything, but can you do a little bit more than your share? Your share, right?
Yes.
And that's what opening a martial arts school is to me. I'm if you were wearing Armani, you probably made good money. And if you had kept going over the last 15 years, would probably be making more money than your martial arts school. But that's
It
not what's most important to you.
No, that you got it. That's not right. And I'm so glad that I found what I'm supposed to do. Most people never get to figure out what they're supposed to. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just supposed to do this. I'm supposed to teach, be a servant leader, and the martial arts is the vehicle, right? And if I save some souls along the way, right? I'm a Christian. Like, that's great. I profess my faith openly, but like, the martial arts is the vehicle to be a servant leader. I'm supposed to be a servant leader, so I've just leaned into it. I've accepted it. And when I decided to walk away, I've never missed a meal. Like, so much, again, building a business and the last 15 years, challenging, right? But now I get the freedom. I'm at the Jersey Shore for 3 weeks with my family because I get to, right? Why is that? Like, people are so baffled. How can you do that? It should be, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you spending that time with your family, the loved ones? It's only 3 weeks. There's 52 weeks in a year. So you're telling me that small percentage and I got to feel guilty? Like, that's what's wrong for me. Like, now I'm going soapbox. We need to get back to that. We should be spending time with the most important people that are going to tell our story, not people that it ain't going to matter, right? So I've made that shift, and my training is that approach. I only go to things that I want to train. If I don't want to train, I'm not training anymore, right? I'm not going to do, like, I get to be choosy now,
Yeah.
and it's a blessing.
So if people want to get a hold of you, website, social, email, whatever you want to give out, how do they do that?
Sure. So Sensei Sparks on Instagram is the most active. So I'm on Instagram a lot. Message me, or Sensei Sparks at iCloud. Shoot me an email. Right. That's the two simplest ways to reach me. SMA Academy is our schools. We have a location in Charlotte, North Carolina. One in Lake Ariel, Pennsylvania. Getting ready to open a third. So SMA Academy Martial Arts. And then the biggest thing is go to newhoperegeneration.com. /Sparks. But there's videos, free, learn. You said it, Jeremy. There might be someone that's struggling right now. You're not your diagnosis. The rest of your life truly can be the best of your life. Learn about this stuff and then message me. I'll talk to you for free. I just want people to know there's an alternative way, right? You don't have to accept whatever you're being told. Hey, you got to close your martial arts gym. No, you don't. Call Jeremy, right? Hey, you got 6 months to live. No, you don't. Call Sparks. Like, we'll figure it out. Whoever we need to call, we'll call. Hey man, there's some bad dudes they're scaring me. Call Master Drink. Like, we have an answer for every single one. And I think that's the reality is, are you willing? The definition of willingness is doing what you don't want to do. Most people just don't want to do it. So those that do, reach out to me, contact me. I'd gladly give you my time.